Hey TBT sellers, let's talk about a couple of things that are maybe a little bit random, but are also really, really helpful in becoming a better TPT store owner, business owner in general. And can I say this is not one of them, but my pretend number one is thinking of your shop as a business instead of just thinking of your shop. Like your shop is not it. It's a business. It's a whole thing. You got all that stuff going with you. And yeah, okay, that one didn't count, but let's get into the ones that do count. Before we get into this, I do want to mention this is not like maybe all the typical things that I would say that are going to help you. So this is not going to be like, let's go, you know, deep dive into this, that, or the other, but these are just kind of random things that in general do help you to be a better business owner and TPT store owner and make better products and all that good stuff. So slightly random, but here we go. Number one is following your interests. So I have heard a lot of people who are like, oh, you need to have your niche, and your niche should be this big, and you should never change your niche, and you should never go outside your niche. And I don't agree with that, because some of the best products I have ever made have been things that were a little bit outside of what I would normally make. Because you know why? I got really excited about them. I was like, oh my gosh, we could do this and it would be so much fun. We could, you know, and like I got excited about it, and then I made it, and those products are typically the ones that do better than any other. Now, I'm not saying do something completely random. Like if you normally do music stuff, I wouldn't post a random like ELA lesson that has nothing to do with music, because that's weird. But if you normally have music stuff and you have something just maybe a little bit outside, and so maybe a different type of product or maybe a different concept, those kind of things can sometimes become your best sellers. So don't shy away from those things that you're really excited about. That also goes for other things. So if you are really excited about blogging or about YouTubing or whatever, then go for it. Like if you are excited about it and it's something that piques your interest and you have the time for it, you can go for it. Following your interests is really helpful. If I did not like YouTube, it would be really hard for me to be here on YouTube all the time. But since I like it, like it's following my interests, and so I'm making my business better. Not this is separate, but my music room, one, it makes my business so much better because I have all these people over on YouTube who check out my lessons and see things and go find things, and then they're able to go and purchase things. And so following your interests can be really helpful. There are, you know, times and places for this, so I'm not saying it's just a general always follow whatever random thing pops in your head, but if you have something you're interested in, then you should definitely be doing it more, so that you can then have better products and better things that you're excited about. Because if you're excited about them, then people are going to feel that, and they're going to be excited, and they're going to want a piece of that. Okay. Number two is not going to shock anybody, but that is reading. Specifically reading, actually reading anything is helpful, but I would say specifically reading business books. So business books are there. Oh my gosh, there's thousands and thousands of business books. They're not all good, but reading business books really helps to solidify, one, that you are a business owner, and two, it just gives you so many strategies that sink into your brain that make life easier. I was looking at this because I was going through my notebook, because y'all know how I feel about notebooks. I was going through this notebook that is from 2019 is when I started this notebook, and I think I finished it in 2022. So this notebook is where I kept notes on business books and webinars and courses and everything. If I was doing it, I was writing it down in here during those times. And I was flipping through because I was looking for something specific, actually, which I did find, even without my fancy Evernote being able to search through things, although it does make it a lot easier. And just looking through here and like looking at the notes I was taking, now looking back, these are things that I'm like, yeah, of course, like I know that. But I realized like, oh, there was a time I didn't know these things. And so like just going back and looking through this, I was like, oh my gosh, these are things that were like mind blowing at the time. And I was like, oh, I need this and I need this. And I never would have found those things if I wasn't constantly learning. And the easiest and frankly cheapest way, well, I guess maybe not cheapest might be YouTube, but second cheapest would be to read books. You can get books from the library. You can buy books. Let me grab a couple. I'm gonna just like destroy my bookshelves right now and grab a bunch of books for you. Please hold. Okay. In absolutely no particular order, here are the things I just pulled off my bookshelves, and I'm gonna have to go put them all back, and I'm gonna be so mad at myself, but it's okay. Here we are. Okay, Number 1, these are not in order. Creativity Inc. This one is about the people who ran Pixar Animation, and it has so many random helpful lessons in here that I really just found super helpful. And so a lot of things just kind of like go into your brain, but one in particular, I remember he was talking about like detail thinking versus big picture thinking, and like kind of how to deal with all of that kind of stuff. That one was good. Next one, Built to Last. This book is by Jim Collins. I have 3 of his books, and they're all, the ones like Good to Great, Built to Last, all of those kind of things. But he does these really in-depth studies of different businesses, and he goes through and he pulls out like things that are in common of them. So his are harder to read, I would say. I mean, you're probably teachers, so it probably should be fine, right? But there's so much good stuff in these, and I would say this is the most important one to me because I try to do everything long term and really try to build that like long term. Productivity wise, the 12-week year is really good, especially if you have not done a lot of productivity books. Highly recommend this one. And it is all about getting more done in 12 weeks than most people do in 12 months. I don't know that I believe all of that, but I liked the idea of I liked a lot of his ideas. But one thing that I currently have been thinking about is changing the time frames that I plan, because I usually plan like year and then like quarter and like month. And now I'm like, you know, looking at the rest of the year and I'm like, ooh, I feel like it's gonna take 2 months to do this and 1 month to do that. And so I'm thinking I might switch my planning to be more like project based versus like how long, like 1 to 3 months, just depending on what I've got going on. So we'll see how that goes, but kind of using the strategies from that book to shift my planning to really make sure that I'm getting things done. Next one, Company of One. If you are someone who doesn't buy the Kool-Aid of, oh, we should go have bajillion employees, this one is great. So this is really good. I like to use this one to kind of check myself, because Paul Jarvis talks all about how he's built his company of literally one person and lots of other people who have these companies that are just one person, and like the fundamentals of how you can do that, and like being small on purpose and kind of going for that like lifestyle business rather than like chasing all the money all the time. So definitely like that one. This one's not really a business, but Building a Second Braid is probably the book that has most changed my life, maybe ever. I mean, Bible, Little Women. This was the third. But Building a Second Braid is so helpful, because it's a whole system for how to keep track of things in a way that you can actually find them later. So if you are like me and you're just like, I'm looking around, notes everywhere, notebooks everywhere, papers, sticky notes everywhere, constantly like losing things and can't find that and can't remember it, then this is the one you need. Definitely recommend. And lastly, Storyworthy by Matthew Dix. This is definitely not all the business books I've read, but a couple of good ones. This one is all about how to tell good stories, and more as I'm going into looking at business, looking at products, I'm really looking into copywriting right now, which is like writing with the intent of selling something. And it's all about stories. And if you can tell good stories, you can sell stuff. If you can tell good stories, your descriptions sell well. If you can tell good stories, your YouTube videos do well. If you can still tell good stories, your emails and your blog posts are great. And so like there's just so many benefits. So I'm really kind of diving into that at the moment. But that one is very helpful. If you need some writing tips, definitely check that one out. Oh, and just as I was over there, I was like, oh yeah, I wrote a book. I kind of forgot about that. Amazon. I was like, oh, I kind of forgot about that. I have 3 books sitting over there that I wrote all of them, and I keep thinking like, oh, I need to write a book. And I'm like, I already wrote books. I have more coming. Not for you, not right now. Although if you have a book suggestion of something you would like to read written by me, let me know. All right, so we've got following our interests and reading and learning just in general. Next one is kind of random, and that is getting out of your comfort zone. We all have things that kind of scare us, and I have found the more you do scary things, the better you become. whether that's as a person, whether that becomes being more emboldened to do things, just being more sure of yourself. I feel like that's kind of the biggest thing, is as I've done this whole business journey and I've done all these things that have scared me and all these things getting out of my comfort zone, like it's just, I feel so much more sure about myself than I used to. And I think about that a lot actually, because I have definitely never been one who had great self-confidence. And so I look back like, oh my gosh, you know that movie 17 again? I love that movie. It's great. Not 100% appropriate. Not bad. Anyway, great movie. But I look at that and I'm like, you could not pay me to go back to high school. No, you could not pay me enough money to go back to high school. There is no way. I even went to like a good high school and I enjoyed it and it was great and I had friends and you know, like it was fine, but I just like, all I remember about my teenage years is feeling awkward. And the more that I have pushed myself out of my boundaries, the better I have gotten and the more I have been able to do scary things like starting a YouTube channel, like making courses, like doing all these things that I definitely didn't think would have been possible years ago. But the more scary things you do, the better. So getting out of your comfort zone could be literally like starting a YouTube channel or making products that maybe aren't what you think of as your specialty, or getting on Instagram. It could be those kind of things, and sometimes it is, and other times it's other things. Be real. Right now, mine is talking to people. I'm really bad at talking. If you met me at TBT Forward last year, I apologize, because I am not good at talking to strangers. I can't do it. And I have realized, especially at things like TBT Forward, I was like, man, I am so awkward. Like, get me in front of everybody. Like I had, you know, I did I'm not presenting this year, but last year I did present in Boston, and I like got up on stage and I had a whole presentation. I had a packed room and I was fine. Come up to me and talk afterwards, I have no idea what to say. So that's something I've been working on, and as I've been doing that, I've been really trying to figure out like how to, you know, talk to people in a more natural way. And so that's going to help me with networking. It also helps me with things just like YouTube videos and things like that, because it just gives me a lot more insight into like people. So as stupid as that is, I have just been really intentionally trying to talk to people I wouldn't normally talk to and people I don't know. So like, for example, I go to a workout class 3 times a week over the summer. It's great. I won't be able to do that over the school year, but right now I'm going 3 times a week. And so I'm trying to talk to somebody every time. And sometimes it's just like, oh, your leggings are cute. And that's about all I got in me. But it is a struggle for me. And I have found just in doing that, like I feel a lot more self-confident and I just feel a lot better. And so just little things like that. And I really am the worst because I kind of like psychoanalyze conversations and I pick up on things. I try to like pick up on things so I have things to relate to business and copywriting and things like that, because I'm listening to people and really like listening to their stories and trying to figure things out, which kind of goes into the next one, which is number 4, which is talk to teachers. So if you are a teacher, or if you know a teacher, or you know, you meet a teacher, talk to them and just not be weird, but just ask them like, what are their struggles? What are things that are difficult? Hey, what's your favorite way to do this? What's your favorite way to do this? What's something you wish you could change? Like, don't interrogate them, but just talk to them, because the more you can get insights from your teachers, the better. For example, super random, but actually a teacher who goes to my school, she teaches gifted at her school, but she had to fill in for music one time, and she was looking for a music lesson, and she found one of my videos on YouTube, which was great. And what she said was, I was so glad to find it, and I love finding things on YouTube because I could click the links really easily, versus when I go to Pinterest, sometimes it takes me to like weird places and I can't find what I'm looking for. So what this told me is, 1, YouTube's great, and 2, when I'm, you know, on Pinterest and I'm pinning things, I need to make sure that the links that I have from a pin to a product or to a whatever go together really well, because I've been there too, where you like click on something and it doesn't take you where you think it's going to. So just, you know, things to be aware of. So those are super random, but that's something that like I learned from just talking to someone after church one day. And so like you can learn so much if you just talk to people. You can do this in person or you can do it online as well. But I find online is good for getting like general ideas and suggestions. Polls are great. If you're like on Instagram, you can do polls and see like what people think. I love those. But there's nothing like actually talking to someone in person and hearing what they have to say and hearing their struggles. When I get together with a group of like teachers, I listen way more than I talk because I want to hear what they need help with so that I know what to go and do. Okay, it doesn't mean every relationship is transactional, but here we are. Next one is a little bit random, and that is having really big goals and planning to get them done. So actually in Built to Last, they talk a lot about big, hairy, audacious goals, which just means having really big goals. And that's something that a lot of really big companies that stayed good for a long time had in common, and that's something that you want to have in common too. So if you can have really big goals for your store and you can stick to them, then it's going to make all the difference. Because y'all, if you open a store and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna throw stuff up, and you just leave it and like it's very like willy-nilly and all over the place, you're gonna be in a very different spot than if you went in with intention and you were like, I want to make X amount of money and I'm gonna do, you know, this, that, and the other. Now you have to do the work. It's not just like, oh, I set a big goal and then nothing happens, and you may not even hit your goal, and that's okay too. But having goals is really helpful. There was one year that I had made 20,000 the year before. And so I was looking at the next year and I was like, okay, 20,000, maybe I could hit like 50. And then I thought, I mean, let's just say it could be 100. What if it could be 100? How much is 100 every day? How much, you know, how much do I need to make every day to get 100,000? And y'all, I hit it, and it was so insanely ridiculous to me, and I so didn't expect to hit it that I was in complete shock. But I really truly feel like if I hadn't set my goal so high, I wouldn't have hit it, because everything I did, I was like, how do I get to this number? What do I need to do to level up and get to this number? Now, it doesn't always work, because I have had years that I set really high goals and I did not hit them. But having those really high goals helps you have an aim and something you're looking for, and it's gonna make your business go further than if you don't have any goals at all. So have really big goals and then plan to actually make them happen and actually follow the plan, which is where I usually get. Number 6 is a little bit random, but that is writing. I love writing, which is helpful, so apologies if you don't, but writing has been one of the things that helps the absolute most. There's 2 specific things that I have found that really helps me with writing. Number 1, a lot of online business is writing. When you're writing, you have to write product descriptions, you have to write on your covers, you have to write Instagram posts, you have to write blog posts, you have to write emails. There's a lot of stuff you have to do that involves writing. And even when you do, you know, YouTube videos, I still have to put in all of these like things that I have learned about writing in order to make good YouTube videos. So even if you're podcasting YouTube, like you still have to write, even if it's maybe not physically writing, you still gotta at least write something down, and you have to have, you know, all these skills behind you. So number 1 is the better I have gotten at writing, the better I have gotten at selling. Number 2 is that I have used writing for a long time to really help me to figure out what the heck to do. And so I just keep a journal and I write and I write and I write and I write and I write. And this year I used to write like maybe once a week was pretty much what I would do. I would journal once a week. And this year I have been journaling, I would say 3 to 4 times a week on a normal week, and sometimes even more than that. If it gets less than that, I can tell, because my brain feels so full. And so when I write, I just write whatever I want. No one's gonna read it. It would be very boring for you to read it. But mostly I'm going through and I'm trying to figure out like, what's my next step? Where should I go? How should I move? What should I change? Should I do this? Should I do that? And writing gives me the opportunity to really think it out and get it out of my brain. There's something about having something on paper that is very different from having it in your head, and things get so much more clear if you can just put it down in print and you can figure it out. I have had so many epiphanies from writing in my journal, from literally, like, I mean, the cheapest journals you can get is what I'm using. And I have had so many epiphanies that come, and I have other days that I get basically nothing out of writing, and that's fine. But sometimes I find direction, and I find trajectory, and I find hope and inspiration and excitement and all of these things that I wouldn't feel if I didn't have it. So whether you like writing or not, get writing. You can do it digitally, you can do it by hand, but you need to be writing, you need to be learning how to write, one, and you need to be practicing that so that you can get better at your business, and also so you can get things clear in your mind. Next up is a little counterintuitive, and I have a caveat for this, and that is taking breaks. So this one only works if you are someone like me who likes to work a lot. Like, I was not supposed to be filming videos today, but I got home and I was like, I want to film videos today. So I do what I want, and apparently that's what I want to do. If you are a workaholic, someone who just goes, taking a break can be something really, really, really helpful from your business. Now, if you're someone who is struggling to find time to work in your business, this is not for you. But if you're someone who's like, I work all the time, take a break. There's kind of two different ways I want you to take a break. Number one is having something that's normal and consistent that helps you to kind of take a break throughout your week. So for me, that would be things like writing, that would be things like taking a bath in the evening, because I do really like that, or like painting, playing piano. Those are kind of my things. And I don't do all of them all the time, but I have them kind of spread out periodically so that I am able to then take breaks throughout. And anytime that you can take a break, it really will help your mind feel better. The other thing that I want you to do is take an actual break every once in a while. So this could be every month, it could be every quarter, but just have some time that you are like, I'm not gonna work on these days, and you will be amazed at how different you'll feel. For years, I just went, and the first time I really truly did this was a few years ago. I vlogged it, so you may or may not remember if you've been here for a while, but I was on spring break. My husband was out of town. My car broke down. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't do anything. And I was so tired at that time that I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take a full-on break. And the whole week I didn't do any work at all. And I, one, felt so much better coming out of it. Two, I just had so many ideas. Like, by the time I got to Friday, I started a new product line because I was so excited. I was like, oh, we could do this, and it could be, you know, this, that, and the other. And it was like something super creative. And those kind of things come out of taking a break. It also, again, helps you with those things if you're like mulling over a problem. Sitting and like thinking or having extended time where your brain just can wander is really helpful. I found that over the summer. I find this a lot if I go like swim laps at the pool, because like my body's moving and it lets my brain kind of work things out. And so having a break where you can really think is really the thing, because when you're going and going, your brain's like this, and you don't have time to like stop and think about like what actually matters and what's actually helpful and what's actually moving the needle, and you want to make sure that that's what you're focusing on. So go take a break. It could be a vacation, it could be just a couple days. Sometimes I do it during the school year and I'm like, for these 3 days I'm not gonna work at all. You know, it doesn't have to be a ton, but it just has just something. But take the time to really sit and think and mull over possibilities and ideas for your business. I promise you will not regret it. All right, friends, there you have it. 7.5 things that are slightly random that will help you to be a better TPT seller, business owner. I know these were not the most, like, it's a little different than my normal content, but I hope that they gave you some insight into leveling up your business and getting a lot better. So I will leave links to all those books that I mentioned down below, and yeah, go learn something or go take a break. Let me know in the comments which one you're gonna do this week.